Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm your host Dr. Sene, and I'm here today with this story that comes from Britain, which makes us question what's going wrong with our world. When we talk about killers, we always connect our minds to an evil adult male or evil adult woman. But would you think of a 12-year-old girl as someone who commits murder? Let's begin, but not before I advise you to employ viewer discretion, as some of the information here could be very disturbing to some viewers. This is not for anyone under the age of 18. Thank you. Let's begin now. Sharon Carr was born in Belize in 1981 to a violent and abusive mother and an alcoholic dad. Sharon had a terrible upbringing and grew up with anger and hatred, as that was all she knew. Hatred, guys, from a horrendously violent parents. Whenever I read about criminals, I feel the urge to look into their childhood closely, and more often than not, I see terribly violent and dysfunctional families behind those offenders who only know hate as they grow up. They often claim to have fantasized from a young age about hurting others. Sharon Carr, as a young kid, also delighted in torturing little animals and got interested in voodoo, as her mother was a practitioner of voodoo. I read somewhere also that Sharon Carr's mum had poured boiling water over her stepfather, while Sharon, as a young kid, watched him burn and scream. Sharon's mum would also burn her as punishment for bad behavior and often put pepper on Sharon's genitals. These are two blood-curdling incidents, guys, that occurred during her utterly dysfunctional, sad, brutalized childhood, inundated with violence and abuse. Just two only. The family later moved to Britain. Camberley, in Surrey, when Sharon was still very little. Let's hop on to 1992. Katie Rackliff was an 18-year-old trainee hairdresser from Horney in Surrey, South England. She had a normal life, a loving family, and good friends, and was excited about her chosen career as a hairdresser. In late May 1992, Katie had split up with her boyfriend, and she was fairly sad, obviously. She was in no mood to go out and socialize, but as her friends persuaded her to join them for a fun night, and she said okay, and on June 6, 1992, Kate went to a nightclub called Ragamuffins with her friends. And apparently, when the nightclub closed in the early hours of the morning, Katie could not find her friends, and therefore she decided to walk home. Or maybe walk looking for a taxi. Katie Rackliff's mutilated naked body with multiple stab wounds was found the following morning. The investigators had commented that one stab wound had even gone through her body. It was such a rage-filled, horrendously brutal attack that the community feared that a very sick, dangerous man was at large and that he would strike again. Katie's breasts and her genitalia had been mutilated, giving it a sexual motive. I know, this is all so terrifying. And guys, some of the wounds on her body had been made after she was dead. Such rage. And guys, the body was found on a road, not on her route to her home. And that was a puzzle. Was she killed elsewhere, and was her body dumped here in this place? The police was so confused as to whether Katie had accepted a lift from a stranger who had done this to her. They were on the lookout for a strong male who could have committed this murder, this abhorrent crime, in a savage frenzy. This was obviously a male killer, the police thought, who may have done this thing and done this kind of thing before and managed to evade being caught. One of the police officers mentioned that Jack the Ripper murders came to mind, as Katie's body was so viciously stabbed over 27 times. 2 years later, the murder was still not solved. It was at this time, on 7th June 1994 to be exact, that Sharon Carr had stabbed a fellow student, Anne-Marie Clifford, in the school toilet. Thank God Anne-Marie was taken to hospital on time and she was saved. Sharon was arrested. The young offender was looking at a few years in jail. However, in there, she attacked other prisoners, even attacked the guards. She was very violent and also bragged that the police would never find the male killer they are looking for, who apparently had killed Katie 2 years ago. And she said, well, there is no male to catch, and that it was her that committed that crime, the crime of killing Katie 2 years before. And she gave information that only the killer would know. She was feeling so proud of killing Katie that she had said in her diary entries about how good she felt after killing. So proud of killing KR, she said, describing the exhilaration and the high she enjoyed even thinking of the murder. The investigations continued. She was made to face court and evidence against Sharon was overwhelming. It was a unanimous verdict of the jury, guilty. Sharon was sentenced to life in prison. Sharon Carr is still receiving treatment from health specialists. She is not entitled to apply for parole or be considered for release, as Sharon Carr is considered to be a terrible danger to society and would always be a terrible danger to society. She's 42 years old now. And remember guys, she was only 12 when she committed that horrific murder of Katie Rackliff. Sharon, with her profoundly twisted dark mind, has been dubbed the devil's daughter by the media. And she will remain in prison for the rest of her life. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Leave your comments and hope you subscribe. Thank you for watching. Good night.